Digital Marketing Radio, episode 100. How is SEO for e-commerce different?
DigitalMarketingRadio.com.
I'm David Bain, and this is Digital Marketing Radio, weekly interviews with digital marketing experts. Find out about everything we do at DigitalMarketingRadio.com.
The big interview with David Bain.
Today, I'm joined by Nick Eubanks. Nick, welcome to DMR.
Thank you for having me. I had no idea this was episode 100.
I know, it's a milestone, isn't it?
It's pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, Stuart, the chap that was on the previous episode 99, and he was going, I wanted to be 100. I was saying, well, you can be on 2 in a row. No, maybe not then. But yeah, it's I'm not sure, whether to do something different. But I actually did a different episode back in 97, which was going about a local meetup group and interviewing people live. And that was going to be my episode 100, but that ended up being published early. But I'm sure this one's going to be wonderful.
I'll try not to disappoint you.
Well, a little bit about Nick. Nick is the owner of top-ranked SEO blog, SEOnick.net, and he's the creator of the SEO training course, Master Keyword Research in 7 days. So obviously you can find him over at SEOnick.net. So, Nick, what would you say to begin with is the difference between being okay at keyword research and really mastering keyword research and doing it right?
Prioritization. I think that's like one of the wastelands of SEO information. Is everybody in SEO understands how important keyword research is, and there's all these processes for it. But I think if you're really stellar, you can understand all the implications that come with intent and different modifiers for different segments of keywords. And you can really get your head wrapped around which of these are going to be. So here's my set of 100, priorities, targets, I'll call it. And then from that set of targets, being able to carve out priorities for short-term, mid-term, long-term. Timelines in SEO is still like this gray mist that I think people are still trying to figure their, find shining lights to navigate their way through, and being able to properly prioritize keywords. So you're going after the ones that are going to create the most net impact, and for e-commerce, it's revenue in the short term. And by short term, I mean, 60 to 90 days, and then be able to parlay the work that you've done for the short-term revenue keywords into more mid-term and long-term keywords, whether those are paying attention to harder terms with more volume or harder terms with more commercial intent. Being able to straddle that line between conversion and volume, I think takes some practice.
Okay, so SEO missed. Would you say that the main challenge there is SEOs themselves not knowing really how to prioritize keywords, or is it more of a commercial issue within businesses and perhaps marketing directors not really understanding SEO that much and perhaps not allowing SEOs to strategize as much as they should at the top business level?
There's definitely a big part of the problem is definitely the latter issue, and that is marketing managers not really understanding, not having their head really wrapped around sort of the idea behind search intent and the bottom of the funnel keywords that they probably should be paying attention to from a revenue standpoint, and getting really stuck on these vanity terms because they're either high volume or it's what they believe people are searching for. There's nothing worse than having to pitch SEO to an organization that's going to argue with you, but not based on data, based on feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned modifiers briefly there as well. Is that something that businesses involved in e-commerce should be focusing on, or do you think?
Go ahead. Absolutely.
Or does that apply to any business? I was just about to say.
I mean, any business is going to have modifiers that are going to push keywords further down the conversion funnel for whatever their product or services that they're selling. For e-commerce, they tend to be more standardized. Things like buy for sale versus cheap coupon discount. And then those are the really general sort of top level 50,000 feet purchasing modifiers. The more specific ones are going to be tailored directly to whatever the vertical is. And the easiest way to think about it is the more specific the query is, the more commercial intent it's going to show. And I always like to use the example of like men's shoes. So men's shoes, could be sort of construed as a commercial investigation term, but it's still more informational. Brown men's shoes is better. Brown men's shoes with black bottoms is better. Like, these are still commercial investigation. When you get to either a brand or a size, if those are things that exist within that keyword universe, now you're talking about a transactional keyword. When you're looking for men's brown shoes with black bottoms, size 8.5, that's a purchasing term. That person is looking to find where they can buy that. The only way that you're going to get something pushed even further down the conversion funnel in terms of a transactional intent is if they have a brand name in there. So, it's suddenly it's Florsheim men's brown shoes, size 11. That person is literally ready to, their credit card's in their hand, and they're just trying to figure out who's got the best price and the best shipping times to give them their money.
So what about building content then for such a specific term? Brown shoes, size 11, and perhaps a brand name as well. If someone is typing in that type of keyword phrase, do you try and get them to land on a keyword phrase just focusing on a page like that, or do you think it's not really worthwhile attempting to get those kind of pages ranked? You should just be a little bit more generic and build content for your brown shoes to begin with?
I think you need to rank content for each stage of the conversion funnel, and then the job of the user experience on the site is to nurture the user from each step of the funnel, build the comfort and trust that's necessary to move them from one segment to the next. So having a page for men's brown shoes that lists all of the, serves the purpose, it's a good result for the search term, is great. That's a good head term. And then, the page underneath that, the child page in the information architecture, should probably be based on either the brand or the size, depending on where the volume and competition lies. I almost always recommend building downstream. So starting, mirroring head and shoulder terms to category pages, and then body terms to subcategory pages, and then paying attention to the product and long tail terms at the product detail page, and allowing you to flow semantic relevance downstream from head to tail through the category and the product detail page. But then also being able to send that relevance back up from all those product detail pages by linking with the semantic keywords back to the subcategory page, and having the subcategory pages link back to the category page. The beautiful thing is now, especially with microdata, you can use structured markup to let Google and other search engines that use RDFA know, this is the parent, this is the child, and you don't have to use all the internal link architecture to send those signals. Airbnb was really the first company to really embrace microdata, and it's paid them huge dividends.
Right. So what about if a business is actually really getting started in SEO for the first time? Perhaps they're an e-commerce business selling thousands of different SKUs. What's the best way to get started? Should you actually focus on one category and do a great job within that category? Or should you have a broad architecture, a broad focus on your whole site to begin with, get all your categories optimized, and then your pages underneath that after that?
I think taking a broad sweep and making sure that you don't have any just waste bins of SEO garbage throughout a live site is going to help everything. But as soon as you have 80%, you're 80% of the way there site-wide, I absolutely believe in focusing on 2 or 3 core categories, and those have to be driven. The prioritization of the selection of the categories that you go after has to be based on strategic business operations or business goals. So you're going to have products as an e-commerce business where you're either going to have higher margins, you're going to have quicker turns, you're going to have products that are a bigger priority for your company, and focusing specifically on those. So let's say you've got 3 product categories, or these are the ones that keep the lights on in the business. Of them, taking a strategic approach, using keyword research to figure out, all right, which ones of these are going to take the most time to get the rankings where it's going to be creating a sustainable base of online driven revenue, versus which one, is there a couple silver nuggets in here where with a 2 or 3 week link building campaign, we can at least crack top 5 and we can begin getting qualified traffic to the site for these terms.
So how do you actually attribute value at the moment? Do you still focus on last click largely?
I use raw conversion data. The enhanced e-commerce functionality in Google Analytics has come so far that I used to use a couple other funnel attribution products, but when you have that, try not to swear. It's tough. It's a pain to get the enhanced e-commerce analytics configured correctly, so it's actually giving you clean data. But once that's set up, I mean, that shows you where all of your weak points are, and that shows you to the best of your ability, you know, what you can attribute to. I think what you're talking potentially about is like the black hole, like of not provided, and
Yes.
And you know, how do you figure out this stuff? I mean, that's the role, I think, that more than anything, where paid search still plays, or that's where I believe paid search still plays a big role in SEO. Is, you know, you need some source where you can get that data. Authority Labs is a kind of a cool tool that they've been playing with that uses a cross section against Webmaster Tools query data to try to map in the landing pages reports. They call it now provided. And I think it generally cuts out about 15 to 20% of your not provided data and gives you some insight into potentially what keywords these were with some degree of accuracy. But in terms of attribution, you know, logged in users, you're not getting it. So,
but also multi-touch attribution as well, because obviously one of the main challenges with generic searches is generally they are at the early stages of research, and someone may come through an affiliate link or a paid link actually prior to making that purchase, and if you're just focusing on last click, it's not necessarily valuing the organic traffic,
giving the sort of the correct. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, no, I don't think anyone's got an exact answer to that one. It is a challenge, but the main issues is, as an SEO, is demonstrating value internally within the business and demonstrating that it is worthwhile investing serious money in.
No, I completely agree. I mean, I tend to I take more of a macro approach on a lot of it, where I will pay a lot more attention to organic entrances into specific pages, and then use the e-commerce reporting to figure out which click paths on the site are actually driving the greatest both conversion and the greatest revenue amount. Because the most transactions isn't always the most money, but I want to know both. Those are my sort of operating KPIs. And then I guess one of the other big things that I pay a lot of attention to is high value referral traffic. So, you know, if I ever have the opportunity to build a link for qualified traffic versus a link that will help send positive search signals, I'm always going to take the qualified traffic link.
Okay, because that in turn will obviously, if it's decent content, lead to more social shares and possibly more links at the end of that as well.
Oh, I mean, just direct sales. I mean, if I've got an option to get a link placement in a forum that's about solutions to the product, you know, providing solutions that my product provides, versus a placement on a DA65 site, I'm going to take that forum link for the same cost every day, all day long. So
for e-commerce then at the moment, what are some of the best CMSs in terms of native structure and friendliness to search engines? And you might or may not want to actually share a CMS that's not particularly good as well. Do you want to have a think about that?
Yeah, no. So I've worked for two companies that are CMS software companies, and the best answer that I can give you is not a good one. But there's not a good. I mean, our entire infrastructure stack at WLSA is completely homegrown. We built our order entry system, we built our CMS, we built our web admin, we built our shopping cart, we built our CRM. I don't recommend doing this. We're in like almost $3 million, but there's not a really great solution out there. So I mean, like in some of our other micro brand sites, we'll use Umbraco because we're a Microsoft shop. So all of our guys are C-backed guys and .NET guys. So stitching together Umbraco and having to use reverse proxies to get WordPress on the blog and all this fun stuff makes my my network admin hate me most of the time. But that's probably the best open source solution. Both of those are probably the best open source solutions that attempt to do CMS well. They obviously all have their caveats, but for e-commerce, I mean, it all depends on size, I guess. If you're under 5 million a year, I'd probably say try WooCommerce. If you're under 50,000 a year, stick with Shopify because it's kind of dummy proof, but the SEO kind of sucks. You have to use their .liquid files and they're a pain in the ass. And I don't really like BigCommerce. I don't like Volusion at all. And you know, if you're over 5 million, WebLink's a great solution. But you know, not everybody can afford them. So. And
have you tried Magento before?
Oh yeah, we've got some Magento clients. I don't like Magento personally. There's a lot of education that goes into managing Magento, especially if you're going to have a team built around it. And a lot of that education is fighting these little fires that nobody should have to fight, where the developers will do some Googling in the extension directory, and they'll be like, oh, here, we'll just add this this plugin here, and this will do all the SEO, and this will do all the rewrites, and this will automatically fix all the 404s, and you know, that's 2 weeks of arguments right there. And it comes back to the old school of thinking that makes me cringe when I hear it, which is we'll add the SEO later.
Yeah.
Which I tend to run into more so with Magento projects, I feel like, than any other e-commerce platform.
So maybe not necessarily Magento's fault, but the type of business that attracts Magento perhaps attracts the thinking that SEO shouldn't be baked in to begin with. Yeah, because it's weird. The companies I run into that are running Magento, where they're starting out and they're $10,000 in the hole and they don't have a site live, and they can't figure out what's going on because they're using copy and paste developers and outsourced help, and they have no clear direction. Or it's a company that has an existing business and they've outgrown whatever it was that they were on, and Magento is this weird intermediate step as a platform. And more companies than not seem to get stuck on it. So. So you mentioned that microdata has had a big impact on SEO for e-commerce over the last few months, over the last maybe couple of years or so. Is there anything else that has had a significant impact on SEO for e-commerce over the last year or so?
I think the knowledge graph sort of starting to play into like entities. You know, Google sort of starting to carve out and promote different informational categories into entities. Yeah. I think it's starting to really drive a lot of results. The biggest impact in all of e-commerce, in my opinion, is PLAs. I mean, those are like candy for e-commerce retailers. You know, any opportunity you have to get a picture, the freaking top of the UI is going to just gobble up click-through all day long. And the CTR figures on those things are insane. I think like the average CTR on a PLA SERP from 2014 was like 35%, something insane, like something unheard of. Wow. When you compare that to like average click-through on a PPC text ad of like what, between 2 and 3%.
Yeah, yeah. And have you got any concerns about Google wanting to drive people back to their own properties and instead of actually, yeah.
If I was in the insurance or the airline space, I would have just killed myself by now. Yeah, they're eating everybody's lunch. They have all the data to do it. Why wouldn't they do it? I mean, they're a business. They have stakeholders. You know, every good SEO out there lives in fear of Google. I thought one of the most interesting things that was talked about today, as you know, the official announcement came out about the mobile update, and I'm not going to call it that stupid word that everybody's using, was all the speculation that this is the update that has gotten the most press coverage ever. Like Forbes, CNN, like these major news publications that don't give a crap about following Google in terms of the algorithm updates there's widespread coverage. And I love that it's been posited that, you know, that might have been the reason for this one. So, you know, propaganda machine is hard at work.
It is indeed, yeah. What about over the next 12 months or so? Have you any concerns or forecasts as to what SEO impacts might come down the line over the next year or so?
I'm interested to see if Google takes all the data they're collecting from their trusted store application and doesn't come out with any end-to-end e-commerce solution. They would be able to do it and do it on mobile so much better than anybody else is doing it on mobile. I could see that happening.
I guess we'll also see what happens with Google and the EU, the European Union, as well.
Oh, I'm not going to touch that one. That's going to be interesting to keep following for sure.
That's one topic by itself. That could go on for hours about that.
That's 3 hours right there, at least.
Well, let's segue into the second section of our discussion. So that focuses more on your thoughts on where digital marketing in general has been and where it's going. So starting off with
software I couldn't live without.
So what software do you currently use in your business that if someone took away from you, it would significantly impact your marketing success?
Term Explorer. I think I would crawl into a hole and retire if Term Explorer got shut down. That's my go-to. I'm in it every day. That's my base for almost all of my, if I even just have that's like to wake up at 3 a.m. with an idea, go like drop a seed keyword in there, click off a report, wake up to 10,000 keywords, and then run, 5-10 filters against them, push it in through the analyzer and actually see what that landscape looks like. I mean, that is macro intelligence at the push of a button. That's That is absolutely my biggest go-to tool. A close second to that would probably be Deep Crawl.
Okay.
I've gotten so fed up with Screaming Frog and running Screaming Frog on other machines, and just the delays. I loved it as a tool. I love what it does. Just I don't like that I don't want a desktop solution. I want to pay more money for a hosted solution. And so Deep Crawl it's expensive, but I mean, I think it has a very real marketplace. I still love SEMrush. I'm strangely, I was in Conductor and Searchmetrics both this week, and was amazed after the fact when I reflected on them at how unimpressive Conductor was and how incredibly impressive Searchmetrics was. So the enterprise space is weird, man, because people will just swear by Conductor, and I think they're swearing more by the sales process than the tool, because it does a lot of cool stuff, but none of it's like that intuitive. Like it's in there for 2 hours. Just like, I don't understand what's valuable in here. Like where am I getting good leading indicators or good postmortem? Like whereas Searchmetrics makes it very evident.
There's a lot of tools out there that just mash data that's publicly available together really as well and make it look pretty. And I think they've got to bring something unique in terms of their own big data to actually make it really worthwhile.
Well, on that same topic, URL Profiler is worth mentioning. They're one of those companies that they're the abstraction layer, and they stitch all of the other third-party data sources together into this beautifully useful report. They're definitely picking up a lot of momentum. I think they're doing some really cool stuff. So that's one to probably keep your eye on. Okay,
and a slightly more challenging question. What piece of software don't you use, but you've heard good things about and you intend to try at some point in the near future?
I mean, I really wanted to like Moz. I was a subscriber for a long time, and I love the base level metrics. Like I use DA and PA every day as a barometer, same way I use citation flow and trust flow. Same with Majestic. Yeah. I love citation flow and trust flow. I love the size of their index. I'm not going to use anything else that Majestic provides. I'm a paying customer for Ahrefs. I use it to get the widest scope of links, but their authority score, I don't know where they come up with it. I mean, they've got a great index size, but that score makes no freaking sense. You don't see there's these massive DA 95 sites that are huge and old and trusted, and they're like Ahrefs rank 45. What the hell is that? Like, it just doesn't. I don't understand some of that. So,
you've included a lot of different tools there, so I'll go through that, make a list of all the links, and include that in the show notes there on digitalmarketingradio.com. But moving on to,
I wish I would have.
I'd like you to look back on the very first day that you're involved in trying to market a business online. What didn't you do so well? What do you wish that you would have done differently?
I actually just had this conversation with somebody like a week ago. I wish I would have spent more time shipping back in like the early 2000s than trying so hard to make things good before ever pushing them out, and most of them dying on the vine. I had so many projects that, like, I had this, I was just in a Twitter conversation a couple of days ago of like people going back to their first website on archive.org. And it was really funny. People were like pointing at GeoCities pages. And I remember like my first website that I cobbled together on 1-in-1 with some like pathetic HTML. And I remember like it was a resume hosting site, which is just like a ridiculous idea in 2015 that was ever a thing. But I remember like spending so much time trying to get so many things that were not important together, like get the messaging right and get the look and feel right. And none of that shit mattered. I think I only ever got 5 resumes on it. So.
Maybe by working so hard on it, you've actually, taught yourself the skills that you are utilizing today. So maybe it was worthwhile now.
I'd like to think that way,
but maybe not.
Needs to be seen.
The this or that round.
Okay, so this is the quick response round. 10 quick questions, and just 2 rules here. Try not to think about the answer too much, and you're only allowed to say the word both on one occasion. So, ready to go?
Okay.
Email or Twitter?
Email.
Audio or video?
Video.
Affiliates or display advertising?
Affiliates.
Facebook or Google+?
Facebook.
Online press releases or one-on-one relations?
One-on-one relations.
Paid search or SEO?
SEO.
Email contact form or telephone number?
Email contact form.
Website or app?
Ooh, oh, crap. Website.
Social subscriber or email subscriber?
Email subscriber.
And local marketing or global marketing?
Local marketing.
No, boths. It was only website or app that was just a slight struggle. Do you think?
If you do your website right, you don't need an app until you get to it. Like it depends on the vertical, but I mean, you know, and I eat my own dog food on that one. So, you know, if you go to trafficsafetystore.com, every size screen is going to be a completely different experience, but it's all the same website. It looks and feels like an app on your phone. It looks and feels like an app on your iPad. It's just a website.
Okay, yeah. Do you think that apps are going to become more or less important in the future then?
I think people are going to continue to like a conversation that dovetails on this that I had yesterday was that Netflix wanted to be your second screen. Like there's all of these content providers, content distributors that wanted to be your second screen, and what they meant by second screen was your phone. But that's not the case anymore. Like your phone is your first screen. It's attached to you. It's what you look at compulsively 100 times a day. You know, your computer screen is your second screen, and your television is almost your third screen at this point. So I think more and more native experiences are going to become sort of the norm as we continue to go forward, and phones become more and more ubiquitous with computing.
And I see generally still seeing people browsing on their phones and coming back and making a purchase on their desktop? Or do you think as long as if you develop a site that's really nice, mobile friendly and easy to buy on, then people will buy just as much on mobile phones?
I think that depends entirely on the demographic of your customers.
Okay, so not the industry, the demographic. Yeah,
I think absolutely. I think if you're, if you've got, if your demographic is under 35, people are probably purchasing on their phones. They feel more comfortable purchasing on their phones. If your demographic is 55 and older, these people might be shopping on their smartphones, or they're shopping on their tablets, and they may be more ready to purchase on a tablet than they would on their phone. But I just think of my mom shopping, right? Like my mom shops now on her iPad, right? Because it's just easy. It's all touchscreen. It's like, it's the touchscreen menu at Wawa. Or if you guys don't have Wawa, like McDonald's. It removes all thoughts and all barriers to purchase.
The $10,000 question.
So if I was to give you $10,000 and you had to spend it over the next few days on a single thing to grow your business, what would you spend it on, and how would you measure the return?
I would probably buy a domain.
Okay.
And the net I would have, I'm just going to make up my answer and say that I would have 12 months to measure the impact. So it would be based on the amount of revenue that I could generate from that domain, whether it was direct or as a referral source.
And so would you just be simply looking to build your own e-commerce site that, or build an affiliate site? What kind of site would it be?
It would depend on what domain I could get. If I could get a really brandable domain with a big existing brand that I could leverage as a referral source for multiple different shopping venues, I would do that. Or if it was a super powerful domain that would be really easy to rank for a whole bunch of high value terms, depending on whether or not those high value terms had direct implications as a drop shipper or better implications as a super affiliate. It would definitely come down to what was available.
Okay, so are you talking about a domain that's publicly available, or would you go to a site and spend maybe a few $1,000s on it if necessary?
I would all by any means necessary. I would get a domain for $10,000. Right. I'd spend all the money on a domain though.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. That's 100th episode. That's the first time I've heard that answer. So that's something to think about.
We have a lot of domains. I think we're at almost 3,700 in our portfolio. So it's something we take pretty seriously.
Right. Okay. And you buy them just for their branding ability.
A lot of the majority of the stuff in our portfolio is brand protection, but then we also buy ones because they're good opportunities. Like we have stuff in the tennis industry. We're never going to be in the tennis industry. It was a good domain, and it makes sense for us to squat on it in case at some point in the future we come across a partner who wants to sit on our homegrown platform. We're in a weird space because we own our technology. So if we come to a point where it makes sense for us to license it, we're in a better position to go approach brick and mortar stores and say, we're a technology solution. We have this digital asset that comes along with our technology. You know, do you want us to be your marketing and fulfillment arm?
Okay. Well,
my number one takeaway.
That takes us to the number one takeaway. So you've offered a lot of great advice in our conversation, but can you distill it down to one tip for people to actually take away and implement in their own businesses, do you think?
Figure out, pick 20 keywords for your business. Base them first on intent, second on volume, and lastly on competitiveness. And then try to back in timelines and figure out how long is it going to take you to rank for these terms and what's the cost going to be. I just wrote a post on this this week on rank potential, or last week, sorry, on rank potential. And that's the notion. I just want more business owners who operate online at all, but especially in e-commerce, to think about which keywords are important and what's the realistic path to get to a ranking for them.
Great stuff. Okay, well, I presume that the best place for people to actually go and find out more about you and what you do is at SEO Nick net. Okay, I was going to say com there by mistake, but I knew it wasn't. So SEOnick.net. We'll just say that again just to confirm. Great. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me, Nick. It was really, really great. You offered a lot of value there, so thanks.
Absolutely my pleasure, David. Thank you for having me.
Great. Okay, and we'll see you next time on... Thanks for joining us. Catch you again soon.